Well, I'm back. I just want to show you this picture here. I hope you can see it. This was a place we stopped at between Weimar and going out to where we lived at Grandpa Billick's. Usually stopped there and on the way home maybe and got a hamburger every now and then, and Daddy drank a few beers. And anyway, right here, I can show you, that was the entrance. And over here was another entrance. The grocery section stuff was over here. Most people came in over here, and of course some went out over here and some came in here too. But anyway, this place brings back some sad memories that I think of quite often as I've gotten older. And I thought about it some when I was younger, but not near as much, of course. And I'm almost 95% sure, maybe even 99, it was Easter Saturday. And we were there, and I was about 10 years old, I guess. And the reason I remember Easter Saturday because we went over to Grandpa Billick's next day, and I just know it was we had a little gathering over there, and my dad, two men came out and asked my dad to came in, and I recognized them. They were Mr. Groman and his son, and they were a little bit. They had some land. They were a little more prominent and stuff in the Weimar area. The dad was probably about my age, and the son was probably about Kurt's age. But anyway, they came out with my dad right here, and I guess my dad owed him a little money from when he stayed on their place. That's what I think it was. And anyway, I was sitting in here somewhere in this area and at a little table or something, I guess, and all of a sudden I heard this big sound and thud up against this wall here. And they, or it could have been over here, I don't know exactly, but right in this area by the door. And they just beat my dad just beat him. They kept standing him up and hitting him against the wall with his back, his head. And in fact, my dad had a ring cut on his nose from this guy had a ring on. It was on the side of my dad's nose, and he was trying to put a Band-Aid over it next day, and it didn't work. But I felt so helpless. I didn't know what was going on. I felt so. My dad just didn't say anything, and never talked about it, of course, to me. But I think that's what happened, and I'm almost positive that's what happened. That he must have owed him a little money from some back there when on that Groman place, and they just flat beat the fire out of him, and I just and I mean they just worked him over, and I didn't see it. I just kept hearing the thud against the walls. But anyway, they finally left, and my dad came in, and we got in the car and went home. I just wanted to share that with you. It's something that I wish I would have not really known about that much, but anyway, I think about that quite often because I said, if I just could have helped my dad. I didn't go out and help my dad. I didn't even try. I was frightened to death. I didn't know. I was scared. But it does bother me that I didn't know I'm repeating myself. But it does bother me that I didn't even go out and try to help him. I don't know what I could have done, but maybe I could have bit one of them on the leg or something. I don't know why. But I don't want to belabor that any further, but it's something that still bothers me. And that picture that I showed you was, that place is still there, obviously. I took that picture about a year ago. But anyway, getting back to some of the things that went on most of my life at the Billick place. Back those days, you got to realize we didn't have a washer, dryers. Everything was, all the clothes were dried on the line, and my grandpa had a windmill and a cistern and so forth. And one day he said, there's some showers coming over from the west, and he said, climb up the windmill and see how far you think those showers are, and if you think they're coming here, because we got clothes on the line. And the windmill it had steel, and they were kind of V-shaped like this, where they went up to where the windmill, the platform was, and then the wheel was built on top of that. And had like little ladder steps going up, just little iron steps going up, and I crawled about 3/4 way up, and I put my arm around this thing so I could hold on and look good, and unbeknown to me, there was a yellow jacket nest in that V, and when I put my arms on it, they just hit me like that, and oh my gosh, those boogers hurt. And I just kind of slid down all the way down that thing, and it was fortunate I didn't fall off in a way, but I just slid all the way down, and I don't remember if the showers came or not, but nevertheless, Grandpa Billy, I think he put soda on it, baking soda, and he went up to the dance hall, and he had a little old tin shed up there, and got me a warm old, hot Coke out of there, and brought it down to me, and gave me a Coke. Even though it was hot, it still was good, because it was something I didn't get very often. But anyway, that just happened, and while I was there at Billy's place, I used to build a little. I could build a little trap. Somebody showed me how to do it, and you'd build this trap out of wood, and then you'd stick a little piece of corn on the end, and when a feelark, they were about the size of a little bit bigger than a robin, and we call them feelarks, and they had no worth to them. It just trapping was kind of fun. And they'd crawl under there, and they'd start pecking on this piece of corn, and all of a sudden it would trigger the thing, and it had about 3 wooden pieces, and they would collapse. And it had air holes on it, so and you'd go back next day and check, and you caught a feelark. That was pretty exciting. So one thing too, Grandpa Billick had called a Delco system of electricity. It didn't give off hardly any light at all, but it was better than certainly nothing. They ran off of big, huge batteries and it looked like they had water in them, and they were made of glass, and they somehow generated a little bit of electricity. In fact, he had a little bit in his house just for lighting, and he even had some out at the dance hall. He ran it up there where it would have a little lighting in there to obviously give some light. It was pretty fair. It wasn't, you couldn't run any power equipment on or anything like that, but it was called a Delco system. And Grandma Billick had in that little house where the Delco system was, where the windmill was, she had a cream separator in it. I think it held about 5 gallons of milk, maybe 10, but it set up on a little deal, and it had a metal deal cabinet, and on the inside it had on one side it had a little clear glass running down, and you would pour that in there, and then the cream would rise to the top, and then after a while, I think it was overnight, next morning she would open the faucet at the bottom and drain out the milk and watch that cream come all the way down to the bottom, and she'd shut it off. And she would take the cream and of course she would put it in a churn, and she used it for other things, but she made mostly butter in it. We had a wooden frame box that was built, after you churn the butter, it got pretty solid, and you'd put it in this container, and it had a little handle on the bottom, and when you fill that up and just level it off, and then you could push that up from the bottom, and the part of the bottom came up to the top, and that would equal a pound of butter. So we'd wrap that in a wax paper and usually sell it at the store, and that's how they made a little extra income too. And one of the big treats was when I'd come over to Grandma and Grandpa Billick's was, particularly after school, she would have homemade bread and homemade butter, and she'd put sugar on it. We just called it sugar bread. It was kind of like a dessert, but she would just put that on there, and we called it sugar bread. That was quite a treat. And speaking of that, I run across that hay meadow there, and most time I didn't have any shoes on. I'm telling you, sometimes there's some big old cockleburs in there. I mean, some big ones. I mean, them things. Of course, my feet were pretty calloused, and but if they stuck in there, they were pretty hard to get out because my foot, it was very calloused. But anyway, and then we'd have a smokehouse where getting back to butchering hogs. We had this in Holman when we moved down there too. Was you'd put Dad used to put like sawdust in there and kind of moisten it out, and put logs in there, and if they were burned a while, and stick them in there, and they would smoke, and you could see the smoke coming out through the sides of the little smokehouse because it wasn't sealed, and that's how they cured a lot of their sausage, to get it that smoke taste and help help it taste better. Like I say, it was poor, it would last longer that way.